Hey guys, it's Spike here. I'll be doing a video, but it was actually a recent project that I did for my Old Testament or Hebrew Scriptures religion class about the story of Joseph in the Bible. And I want you to know I will be somewhat reading off my screen, because that's what I did it for. I wrote it down. But this video is just me explaining my point. And so basically it was on christiananswers.net about the Joseph biblical evidence behind it, whether there is any, the story of Joseph, whether or not it's true, regarding archaeology and an attempt to prove it through archaeology. And in the side over there, somewhere in my screen, I will provide a link to the evidence they have provided, or just the article that I have read. By the way, sorry I'm kind of greasy right now. I know I need to shower and all, but I want to work out in a minute or later because it's like 4 now, and I want to work out before it gets dark and take my run and all that because I've been lazy. So yeah, so basically that's it. That and on to my actual report. So basically what it was the summary of the article, to sum it up, and this is not obviously complete. I got deeper into some points than others, but I only had to do a page summary, and I only wanted to do a page summary in this case. See, no archaeology directly related to Joseph has been found. However, if one believes the story of Joseph and other events of the Bible to be accurate, it can be archaeologically explained. A big portion of the archaeology involving the truth or falsity of Joseph is based on when one believes that the Exodus occurred. This archaeological evidence is based on the idea that the Exodus happened during the reign of Ramses II, and that an Asiatic rise to power can best be placed when the Hyksos, also Asiatics, were in power. Many believed in a 12th dynasty date for Joseph, and this evidence is based on that belief. There has been archaeology found supporting a 12th dynasty date, and passages also supporting it, but there has been nothing completely conclusive. A tomb in an Egyptian palace cemetery from the time of the 13th century had been robbed. In the robber's tunnel, there was a statue of an Asiatic man that had been destroyed at the face and shattered, but proved that an Asiatic man could reach power. According to the idea of what a vizier, I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm just going to pronounce it a vizier, what a vizier's role was, which has been found in textbooks, along with archaeology proving the existence of viziers, along with biblical passages describing Joseph as very fit to be a vizier. Joseph probably was indeed a vizier. If this is accepted as probable, we must ask whether there is any evidence of him being a vizier. At this point, there is none. There is a very insignificant amount of evidence regarding Joseph. And so basically that's the summary of what the article was trying to say. And so here is my analysis and reaction, and really my rebuttal. While this was a good reading and was very challenging to my thought process, this was in no way convincing. As a skeptic, I looked at it both trying to believe it and trying to prove it wrong. From both perspectives, the more I read it, the more holes I found in the logic of the author. From the beginning, it mentioned that we have to believe it to be historically accurate for it to seem like legitimate evidence. This is nothing more than a pathetic attempt to cover up the fact that the evidence is not sufficient. As for the occurrence of the Exodus, the evidence is just that, inconclusive. The author said, our purpose here, assuming a 12th dynasty date for Joseph. I assure you, this is not taken out of context, and that the author is doing that, making assumptions. so I have plenty of reason at this point to put down my paper and go watch some good TV. However, to be fair to the author and the point being made, I decided to keep reading. They had found some tombs in an Egyptian castle's cemetery that were dated from the 13th dynasty. If Joseph lived during the 12th dynasty, then why would the tombs date from the 13th dynasty? It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, and is a contradiction when one is trying to prove the story of Joseph true. But let's pretend that makes even a little bit of sense, and assume that to be true. The tomb had been robbed, and a statue of an Asiatic man had been found in the grave robber's tunnel, smashed into pieces. This would prove that an Asiatic could reach such a high position, as he even had an elaborate gravestone, and of course a statue. Well, first of all, we do not know for sure that Joseph was Asiatic, as we don't know the exact dating or anything of the like. However, if that is indeed assumed, it does not prove the specific instant. It proves the possibility. And it was a dynasty later, so while fairly probable, it is likely that in the time of Joseph, that was not possible. As for Joseph being a vizier, I do agree that this may have been his position of power. It did describe him rightly to be a vizier. However, this could further prove the story false, considering that he has not been recorded among other viziers whose reigns were actually documented. While the documents were imperfect and did leave out viziers, it just makes the possibility of the story of Joseph a little bit less likely. All of this being said, there is one thing that I agree with. There is not enough evidence. The archaeology regarding Joseph is insignificant and is very far-fetched. The list of assumptions and random archaeology based on these assumptions may be enough to brainwash the feeble mind, but does not have me convinced. Also, even if this were true, something else has been left out: the way he reached his position of power. Without the dreams, there is nothing miraculous about his rise to power. Therefore, that would make this passage irrelevant to the Bible and the power of God. So even if this were actually convincing, it would be irrelevant to Christianity and Judaism. In response to those who may ask me to prove that it didn't happen, as my argument was also very much based on some assumptions, I say this: if you wish for me to believe in the story of Joseph, the burden of evidence lies upon the believer. Until I receive enough evidence backing biblical stories such as that of Joseph, I will continue to disbelieve in the Bible and view it as little more than an old tall tale with certain points of wisdom and mixed morality. Okay, so I'd like to hear some thoughts. And yes, I know I was just reading that. I mean, I inserted in a couple of things, but yeah, I was essentially reading it. If you would like, I could provide you with a copy of it. Just email me, and I will have a link to the side that will be the article link. And yes, I purposely found a Christian fundamentalist article just because I wanted to prove it, wrong. And I feel like I did a fairly good job at rebutting the ideas that the article was attempting to portray. I think I made a fairly strong point. So, I don't know, you tell me. I want to hear your thoughts. I mean, because this is really nothing without you guys, so I want to hear some of your thoughts. Alright, so yeah, thanks a lot. Peace.